Uh-oh, what happened? That was weird. Gwen, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know. We're having gremlins as usual. So
Of
there you go.
course.
How are you, Mark?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Staying busy.
I know you were. Yeah, I know you were excited about these guests tonight. So you want me to just bring them on?
Yeah.
All right. We got Shane McLain
Hey, Shane.
and Pastor Zach
What's
Ivey.
up? What's up, guys? How
Hello.
are
Hey,
you?
Pastor. How you
How you
guys doing
doing?
tonight? You're doing good, man. Doing
Doing blessed,
good.
blessed.
Yep, blessed to be here.
Doing good. So, I don't know if everybody knows, but a lot of people know that I've joined the order. For the Knights Templar. I'm really excited about that. Because that's something that I've always been, interested in and everything. And there's a lot to learn. There's a lot
Yeah.
to learn. I mean, I know probably about that much, you know, of what's out there, and hopefully I'm also going to, get into learning, the demonology and everything.
Yeah.
I just feel like, this is a calling, like it's not weird or unexpected that I met you, Zach, and everything. And it's a lot different just this last week or whatever, the things that are happening,
Yeah.
like putting myself into it and everything, excuse me, more than I have. And, like getting all these books, and believe me, I'm not a reader, you know, but having all these books and everything, I mean, I got a nice Templar books. I got the demonology book and everything. And it's interesting, I want to learn as much as I can. So,
Yeah.
so basically that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. I mean, everybody hopefully has heard of the Knights Templar, but my question is, where is the Ark? No, I'm kidding. Uh, but yeah, Holy Grail, yeah. But anyways, so go ahead, guys, and kind of introduce yourselves and what you do and what we're doing and everything, and we'll go from there.
Go ahead, Zach.
All right. I'm the lead pastor of Knights Templar Unity Church and High Guardian of the Order of the Archangels. We are a spiritual warfare order
Yep.
of Knights Templars.
Yep.
You can go on, Shane. You can go ahead and introduce yourself real quick.
I'm Shane. I'm Pastor Shane McLain. I'm the associate pastor of Knights of Fathers Unity Church, and I am also high counsel of the Order of the Archangels. Um, we Zach and I work together, real close. We're trying to build this order properly while maintaining, the dignity of what it means to be Knights Templar.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, I've always had this. Of course, there's shows and movies about it and everything. You're like, okay, that's Hollywood or whatever, but you don't know the truth. And like I said, I probably know, this much. And then Dome France, what was it? I can't remember the year. Everything's Friday the 13th is about Jason, and it's not. I mean, that's when they were. Was it? It wasn't all of the Knights Templar. Was it like a few of them that was it the King of France or whatever? Uh, you know, was
Yeah.
trying to get rid of them, and then he tortured them and burnt them and hung them or whatever he did, and some of them got away or whatever. And that's when people say, oh, the Knights Templar took the Ark and they went to here or whatever. But that's about really, as much as I know about it. And I'm trying. Shane's like, yeah, you're gonna learn a lot, but
Oh yeah.
but I'm not just because, oh, that's cool, the Knights, Knights Templar. It's not I don't think it's about that. I think it's about what you said, Zach, about you know spiritual warfare and everything, and everything that you sent me, our purpose of doing this and what we need to be doing as far as, you know, so like for now, obviously it's different in different times and everything, but like back then it was different too. There was, they did this and they did that for whatever reasons they did. But how, I mean, is it a huge difference now compared to what they did to what we do, or you know what I mean?
Well, I would say yes and no. They were monks.
Yeah.
They were very 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 religious, and they lived a life of poverty and as brothers, a brotherhood with each other, and they took the calling of the Crusades
Yeah.
and helped defend Christianity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And that's somewhat what we're Christian warriors, so naturally we're here to defend Christianity, but also more on a spiritual level, like it says in the Bible, our battle is not flesh and blood, but
blood.
it's
Yeah.
against principalities, spirits of the spiritual darkness in high places. So
Ephesians 6.
yes.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, and like I said before a million times, going to Catholic school and being raised Roman Catholic and everything, you're taught one certain way. You learn this and you learn that, and you get older. I mean, even though what I know and what I learned, I still have a million questions. And to an extent, I think it's, taboo. Oh, we don't ask questions about to certain people. I've run into such certain churches I've gone to, not necessarily the Roman Catholic Church, but other churches like, well, why are you asking these questions? Or they put in or they take out, scripture or whatever. They read the word of God. Oh, what God really meant was no. So I don't know, where, from where that's going and everything. And obviously it was way different than compared to, we still have a lot of, crap going on in the world today. I don't know, I don't know if it's worse or, than it was back then or whatever. So what was the main reason that the Knights Templar started out doing what they did?
Was a group of 9 knights that had started out. They were nobles. They got together, and they had started to wanted to guard the road from the pilgrims going from Europe down into the Holy Land, and that's where they had started. And they they were invited to live on the Temple Mount, and that's how they ended up getting the names, the Knights Templar.
Yep.
And
Yep. And it was the Muslims. They started out with 9, but they had people, like I said, they lived in poverty and stuff like that, and they really wanted to ground themselves in the Christianity culture and really get biblical about everything. And that's why when they started out, they start with poverty. They start, their goal was to guard pilgrims going into the Holy Land, to allow them to go into the Holy Land without the interruption
Or
of
being
the
being
Muslims.
attacked or whatever. Wow. Yeah. That's interesting. It's like the knowing the truth compared to whatever's being shown on TVs or movies or whatever. So well, okay, that's Hollywood or whatever, but not knowing, actually the purpose behind it. So Zach, what was one of the main reasons you wanted to start the church or the order?
um, as a Knight Templar, I've seen there's many orders out there you can find on Facebook.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You- um, God just put in my heart to move more of a spiritual war, because whether we admit it or not, we're always in a spiritual war. We've been in since Adam and Eve,
Yeah.
and even before. And Jesus, said our enemy is, the Ephesians verse, like we said a while ago. Um, so it's more of wanting to build an army of knights out of the Knights Templars to be able to fight a spiritual battle.
Yep. Yep.
And I think, I got to thinking, you have, the priests, the bishops, and, uh, all of the different teams and stuff that go into these places and do the demonic investigations and the exorcisms and cleansings and everything. I said, well, knights would be a good would be good to go into these with,
Yeah.
with these people to be as, backup, or be able to keep praying while they're doing with the battle.
You
Well,
know,
we
Yeah.
should be able. We should be able to anyway. And that's the
right.
one thing I love about us is because we are non-denominational, interdenominational, but we value a lot of the Catholic traditions. We value deliverance traditions. And we use those to build a proper spiritual warfare platform. And because like he said, we are at constant battle. We definitely are. And especially for trying to take our identity and take everything, we want to make sure that we are solid, our order is firm, and we are
Mhm.
biblically rooted to really step into this field.
Yeah, that's what. And my thing is, like I said, we'll talk afterwards about this case because we're going to that thing in South Carolina in June, and I got a hold of this lady, but every time, to me, I feel more satisfied. Yeah, it's cool to go out and investigate these locations and everything, and get as much of it. But to me personally, it's about helping a family, helping a person, and I've had some pretty bad cases, some home investigations where I'm like, ooh, I ain't gonna be able to do this, but
Yeah.
to me, that's me. I want to help somebody, given the satisfaction that, okay, maybe we can't get whatever's in your home out, but I'm going to talk to some people and we're going to, because these people, like on TV, you can't go into a location one night or one episode. Oh, it's haunted. I'm sorry, you got demons and everything. And, okay, see you next week, and a lot of people see that and think that's the way it is. Well, it's not that way. I've gone to home
No.
investigations where I've gone 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times. And, sometimes it works out good. And sometimes I'm like, I'm stumped. And then I hand it over to somebody that, can handle it. But I also think getting into this and joining is going to help that a lot, because I'm going to learn a lot from you guys, and a lot, and trust me, I've got a bazillion questions, but we'll get to that. But it's just because I like the knowledge. I want to learn, and I'll be the first one to admit I hadn't read the Bible in a long time, but I do know it a little bit, and I do know the rights and wrongs. And I think, Shane, me and you talked about this one time
Yeah,
about
we did.
how well, if you're a God-fearing man and you do this and you do that and everything, that you shouldn't be chasing ghosts. And then, is it right or wrong to do what we do? But at the same time, if you're out there helping somebody,
Exactly.
uh, and I think that's one of the biggest among a million problems with a lot of people that are starting out today. Are they're like, oh, I want to be famous. I want to be on TikTok. I want to be YouTube, subscribe. I want a TV show, blah, 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 blah. But they don't want to help anybody. They just want to
Right.
go. And I haven't seen in years anybody post on their paranormal evidence or video or audio. No one's doing that. It's about being famous. And that's wrong. I want to go out and want to help somebody. And if I can't help them, I'm going to find somebody that can help them. And I feel
Right.
learning from you guys, that's going to help me a million times more, bring in the biblical side, or I don't know if that's the right word or not, but into this, the lady I talked to tonight about this case, I mean, she's really scared. and we'll talk about that later. But anyway, so yeah, that's my thoughts and everything is I feel better when I go out and actually go into a home and help them, and make them feel at ease. And if I can't help them, I'm not gonna say, well, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I'm gonna get somebody that can help you. But that's just me. And I don't think it's what's the word? Coincidence that I met you, Shane, and I met you, Zach, and everything. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, and I want to learn more. I mean, knowledge is power. But
Right.
anyways,
And it's fun. It's not a coincidence how
mm-mm,
Zach and I met either, because
that's so cool.
I was telling Gwen that, for 4 days straight I was having dreams,
Hey, Pam.
and this person, there was 4 or 5 of us, and I could see me and my wife in my dream, and these people were looking at, and they said you are the order of the Watchers, and I couldn't figure out, and I was telling Gwen about it,
Mhm.
and then, I mean, after the day that I didn't have that dream anymore, that's when I met Zach.
That's cool.
Mhm.
That is really cool. And I think, everybody says, well, I'm, no, nobody's perfect.
Mhm.
Nobody's perfect at all. Well, except one man, but anyways, but I think everybody, I try to lead my life that way. And I don't think that, to me, that this is just an interest. It is, but at the same time, it's, I always want to learn. Like, I go to a haunted location or find out about something. They say, well, it's haunted. Well, why is it haunted? I like to research. I like to dig in and find things out. And that's with this too. I,
Mhm.
I could read a million books and probably still not, you know, know everything. But, and what, Shane, you're going to be teaching a class,
Yes. Yep.
and this is something that I really want to learn, because the way I was taught, excuse me, about cleansing homes, and if there's something I can't do, I'm not going to try it. I'm not going to go in there pretending that, oh yeah, we're going to banish demons and everything's going to be peachy. I don't I don't do that.
I'm
It's
going
for
to teach a very biblical method that is tried and true for thousands of years, even back to the old tabernacles of the Old Testament. So I use a lot of the same stuff from there, and it's tried and true. It has worked. It continues to work. When we go, we because I tell a lot of people, oh, I use sage and I use things like that. I don't use sage. Um, I use frankincense. Frankincense is a very biblical aroma.
right.
In the Old Testament, when God would hover across the top of the tabernacle, in the altar of incense, it says that it was pleasing to God. So anything that's pleasing to God, and again, frankincense and myrrh was laid at the feet of Jesus at his birth. So there is some really strong biblical significance behind frankincense, but I'll get into that when I also teach a class too.
Yeah, and I think having that advantage, because most people won't even go into a home or a building or a location and pray. I'm like, y'all are nuts. If
Mhm.
anything else, I do the St. Michael prayer at the start and at the end every single time, even though uh I've been there 100 times. So they're like, I, s- I, and I'm not ashamed to do it. I'm not ashamed, if they, but the funny thing is, a few times we've been in some pretty spooky locations, and I say, okay, I'm going to do the St. Michael prayer. And then everybody's like, oh yeah, yeah, do that, do that, do that. Whether they believe or not, maybe it makes them feel better that, and it's, and most people are like, well, I've had skeptics oh, I'm not afraid of anything. And they come to a place like, hey, you gonna do the St. Michael prayer? I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, and it's not about, to me, it's not about, well, kind of belief, but it's not a question. It's knowing what's real and what's not. Well, people say, well, do you believe in God? And I say, well, yeah, but I don't need to. And they're like, what? I say, because I know,
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Zach, we're yapping away. Just jump in whenever you want.
I was gonna say, yeah,
We're bad at that.
the only thing that we are greater than the devil at is humility,
Mm-hmm.
and we need that humility, and in order to be able to pray those prayers, and we have, it grounds us, uh, to
Yeah.
keep us grounded and connected to the source in order to go in and
Yeah.
be able to do those things that we need
Yeah,
to
100.
do.
Yep.
I agree 100%. And reading in this book, Shane, she did another one about angels and everything. I'm like, oh, I didn't know she did all those.
Yeah.
But that I'm learning a lot about. Okay, for example, Asmodeus. I knew a little bit, but there's like chapters. I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that about him. I didn't know this. And it's interesting too to learn that. I'm probably not going to remember every single one,
No.
but the ones, I mean, and it goes into depth about each one, which I thought was really
Yeah.
cool. And
There's
it
a
talks,
hierarchy in hell.
yeah, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what? I'm like, I didn't know that about him, and these little, demons, and what is it about Solomon? And you're like, this demon is 52nd of 72. You know what I'm talking about? What is
Well, yeah, because he, that 72 was the number of the the ranking,
Yeah, okay.
demons and the hierarchy and stuff like that, and they were called out by name and stuff like that. Because I mean, if you really think about it, how does a demon lose his authority?
By knowing his name, right?
By knowing his name, by calling his name when he tries to make himself. And I mean, you may have a possession with a bottom feeder. And what I mean by that is, like, a lot of possessions that people get, they are bottom feeders, but they will call out who they actually work for and stuff like that. And when you call that name, and when you find out, because that's what they don't want you to do. They don't want you to know the name,
Then you get the
because
power. Yeah.
it loses all authority over the body that it's in, the spirit, everything. It loses everything. And that's why it's so important to really study and to find out about this stuff. I've got another book. It's what I call what I call the spiritual warfare Bible. And it's literally a manual
Whoa.
that was put together by a guy that was in the military, and he is comparing guerrilla warfare
To
to
spiritual.
spiritual warfare. And
Whoa,
it
that's
it's
crazy,
so
man.
effective. It's
That is
so effective.
wow. See, and that's what I think, that people, if you're going to do this, and I've done this oh my God, so long, that, no, at that time, knowing just what I knew about the Bible and about this and that, angels and everything, and then reading about, learning there's more angels, besides St. Michael and Gabriel and them and everything. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And I think having that knowledge, I think the people that are serious, if you're going to go in and help somebody in a home, and, because when we do them, the very first thing I ask is, was a Ouija board used in your home? 9 times out of 10, the answer is yes. Okay, what'd you guys do? Well, my brother did this. I did this when we were kids. Well, where would you do it at? Well, we did it in my parents' home or whatever. Okay, where's a Ouija board? Oh, I burnt it. I threw it away. I buried it. I'm like, well,
Yeah,
you know,
I've got a whole checklist, when you do your
Yeah.
Your interviewing and stuff like that. I have an entire checklist that we go over, because believe it or not, mental health plays a big role into it.
It
And
does. I agree with you
when
1,000,000%, 100%.
because when mental health gets involved like that, you need to sign releases, to where you can look at what they are properly diagnosed, then see the
Yeah,
comparisons between mental health
a
and
thousand
what
percent.
demonic oppression means and things of that nature. So I mean, I've got a whole checklist of things, that we're actually going to create. We're going to create our own format that when we go, because not only are we going to be an order that works with other
Hmm.
people, we want to be fully equipped. So we
Right.
are going to have our own methods, our own questions. We're going to approach this the right way while walking firm in the dignity of Knights Templar.
Doing it the right way too. So Zach,
Mhm.
I'm curious, what are all your thoughts about uh the paranormal and and I guess Christianity, religion or whatever? Like I know, it's talking to the dead, it's Necronomicon or whatever they call it.
I'm about to clear that up. I'm about to clear that up
Okay.
right now because I just had an issue with somebody who was trying to get into the order yesterday, and the
Uh,
very first comment he puts on there is he was like, "We're not supposed to be talking to ghosts. It's in Deuteronomy," and he's right. It is. It's in Leviticus. It's in Deuteronomy. There's places in there, but there is a difference. Here is the answer, guys. There is a difference in old law and new law.
mm-hmm.
There is a difference. When they were not supposed to talk back then, that's because the Israelites would get on. And if you gave them amount of time, if they were talking to ghosts, they
Uh,
started worshiping them as a supernatural deity. It's the same thing.
instead of God, is that right?
It's the same thing when the Ten Commandments were being wrote. He took too long up there trying to listen to God, and when he came back, the Israelites were worshiping a golden calf. So
See, I didn't
that's
even know
why
that. Wow.
that's why the old laws are put like that, because if you think a deity like a ghost or something and you start worshiping that as an idol, that's where it's against the laws of God.
Is
You
that
know,
don't
we
worship false idols? Is that right? Something like, am I
Yeah,
right?
that's the Ten Commandments. But listen,
Yeah,
Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind.
right.
He said, and then he said, and number two is as great as the first one, to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And he says these two commandments supersede all other commandments.
Right. So Zach, what are your thoughts on all that? When what I mean. I guess let me see how I can put it. Like a lot of people, like when I first started doing this, there was hardly like nobody doing it, and they got popular with the shows and everything. And now it's all about fame and everything, and people are just running in and not see before. Like if I know I'm going somewhere on the weekend, the start of that week, I'm preparing, I'm grounding, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing
Yeah.
prayers and everything.
And you should.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And because even though I think that's necessary, but what about all these people that are just rushing into these places, not doing prayers, not grounding? What are your thoughts on
Um,
that?
It's dangerous.
uh, yeah, very dangerous. They can, they can uh, physically get harmed, from entering in, and it can
Yeah.
even spiritually harm them.
Yeah.
It's
You,
very dangerous, and whoever
you don't
else,
know what you're getting into. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's
Well, not
sad
only that, not only that, it's not just dangerous for you, but it's dangerous for everybody that's with you.
that with you
Because if you
and
don't
the
take
family,
grounding,
if right. And if
right,
you don't,
right.
and the family that you're trying to help,
yep,
like,
If you don't take grounding, if you don't take clearing, if you don't take cleansing, and you don't believe in that with the proper and adequate amount of prayers to go in and out of an area, then you are putting yourself your
Even your own
teammates,
family.
everything,
Everybody.
and your family too, because there is a
Yeah.
residual that can latch on not
They
only
can
to your
latch on to,
equipment,
then you're
but
done.
to other things too, and you bring it right into your home, and the next thing you know, it affects your family. So you have to be protected. You have to be grounded. You have to be cleansed. You have to be prayed up. You have to keep it all legit, because that's the only way that you're going to come out on top.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
as in any warfare, like you know, and when people go to war physically, they come back, you know, with all the
Scarred.
scars of war. That doesn't just affect
Mhm.
them; that affects
Everybody
everybody
around, yeah.
around them.
No, I agree.
And
I agree with you 100%. You know, and these people doing that, I mean, I prepare myself. We know I do the sign of the cross. I do the St. Michael prayer, and I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot more, which is going to be really cool. And like I said, I think that if you're really serious about helping somebody, it just isn't about, oh, you know, that's my location, or we're gonna do YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, and I want to be famous and everything. That's the total wrong attitude. But if you're going to be 100% serious about helping someone, or just going to a location to get evidence or whatever, then you need to be prepared 1,000%, and not just rush in. And a lot of these new teams, and by new I mean within the last 10 or 12 years, or even there's popping up everywhere, are just rushing in uh, and doing it, and not, you know, especially in the TV, you know, or I know people that'll go to some really messed up places that have some really bad stuff, and just, you know, go in. I'm like, hello, St. Mike, and they're like, so I was like, okay, you know, I'm good. You know, I did the sign of the cross. I did the St. Michael prayer for everybody who wanted to hear it. And I don't push that on anybody, but I do it. Like if we go out, when we do public investigations, if I got 20 people with us, then I do it. Are they going to believe it? You know, that's their choice. Are they going to think it's real? That's their choice. I'm not going to push it on everybody, but I'm going to put it out there so everybody is protected, whether they want it, whether they want to believe it, or whatever, you know. And I think that with the order too, with the church,
yeah,
I think everybody should have a little bit of knowledge about how to do things properly.
yeah, and that comes with the training part, and then everybody, everybody being on the same page
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
through the order, and being able to ground together. Yeah, I would like to, for you know, whenever we have teams out, we have people in the order that you know that's not there, but still praying for them.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
you know, just keeping that ground for them.
Power is prayer.
Yeah.
Prayer is
I
power.
just
Yeah.
had a case. I just had a case. My wife and I just went on in the case, but I told Zach and I told everybody in the order, and that's what they were doing the entire time I was on my case.
Yeah.
They were praying for my case.
And I think that is necessary. And not only that, but that gives everybody the edge, knowing, you know, with order and everything. And I don't see one paranormal team out there. You know, people say, "Oh, I'm a demonologist." Okay, you know, whatever. You know, just to say it, and to people think that this team or this guy is it. Now there are some legit ones, but there's one people are saying, "Well, I'm a demonologist." You know, I'm an exorcist, and you know, they may be in their in their mind or whatever, but you know, but I think this is an edge, and I think hopefully this can get out to the right people and done properly, with the order, and with doing, you know, mainly because honestly, it used to be 50-50 where we'd do locations and helping people. But now I'm getting more cases that are home investigations just by word of mouth, you know, and then I want to know as much as I can about it, you know, what their beliefs are. And you, Shane, you talked about, you know, drugs or mental problems or whatever, you know, like, well, you know, I've interviewed people where, you know, I said, well, you know, and if I wasn't in what I did and the things I have seen, I'd probably say, yeah, right. You know, I've seen this and I've seen that coming through the walls, and dishes being thrown and everything. And if it's legit, then I'll be the first to admit I ain't gonna run in there alone.
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
never. Yeah,
you know, I'm, you know, I may be sort of new to this, but and with the grounding and the prayers and everything, but I'm like, oh, hey guys, I need help. Hello, even if you can just be there on screen or whatever. But yeah, I don't think that I think that with this, and I just don't mean the order, guys. I mean, together adding this, and I'm going to suck up every bit of information, not just about the Knights Templar, but about what you teach, Shane and Zach, what you guys do and everything. That way I've got all this knowledge crammed right here, and if you guys can't be with me, I can go back to the Rolodex and say, oh, okay, Pastor Zach said this, or Shane said this, or whatever. I'm like, okay, oh, I know what I was gonna ask. I'm sorry, I told you I rant, but you're talking about knowing the demon's name, or at least the characteristics of it. Obviously, they don't want to give their name away. They don't want you to even guess who they are, even by characteristics. But if you know that, like if you know for a fact, let's say whatever, some low level demon is trying to wreak havoc, and he goes, well, I'm not going to leave. Now, if I can figure out his name, what does that do? Do I say that name and in like, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, I command you to leave?
You call it out. You call it out, and you use the blood of Jesus Christ. Then it turns from a who are you to a commandment. You command that demon now because you have the authority. When Jesus said, all authority has been given unto me on heaven and on earth, and we have to utilize that because that's what Jesus wanted us to have. He wanted us to have a biblical a connection to where Jesus says, he said, your works will be greater than mine. Well, how are our works going to be greater than Jesus? Because we are in this to do exactly what Jesus had done. And you notice when Jesus would go up to a demon possessed man, that demon didn't even question anything. He said, Jesus, what do you want from me? And he knew immediately. No matter how many were there, that is the Son of God. That is the one that is my demise right there. And that's what you have to live with.
And like I said, I think having this knowledge, especially if you're going to help people in home investigations or even a business. I've done businesses where people say, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Blah, blah, blah. And then you find out that the employee did a ritual or something satanic or Ouija board it in the back room at the store or whatever, and that kind of thing. But I think with this knowledge, that gives us the edge that you can add to what we already do and make things even better and even help people even more, with what we're going to be doing and everything. So yeah,
that's the goal.
And I think, and I think that, and I'm really glad that, learning everything and knowing this and everything, that it's going to help, through the order or our individual when we go individually, and knowing that everybody, in the order is going to back us and everything. And I think that's really special, and everybody should have that, and then of course, how it is, Shane. And I don't know how familiar you are, Zach, with the paranormal and all the crap that's going on with it, and everybody backstab.
He's getting into it. He's getting in. He'll start seeing. He'll start seeing.
Yeah, he'll learn. But it's crazy that as much animosity there is, and as much problems there was, people backstab and fighting each other, and I'm like, why can't we all just get along? I don't. Yeah, but and I think thank God that we've got this. We've got this camaraderie, this union, this unity, that
brotherhood.
That's a good word, brotherhood. I like that. Yeah, that's a really brotherhood. And that if I'm like, I make call you, say, hey, I got a question. Are you Shane or whoever? Call it 1 or 2 o'clock. No, I won't do that. but if I got something that I need, and when we're done, we'll talk about the case and everything that we've got coming up. But really quick, I just want to we lost another vendor for the con, which I'm really sad about. But
no.
yeah, I don't know what's going on, man. Something's trying to stop me. But anyways, the con's coming up really quick. It's Saturday, May 3rd in Red Boiling Springs, Tennessee at the Thomas House. And God willing, Shane, you guys can make it.
Yeah.
And we got, go to Ghost of Tennessee, and it's all the information's there. Ticket information, $10 a ticket, at the door 15. We still have a really good group of people. We still have really good vendors and everything. And then I want to talk about another one that's kind of leads into the case that I talked to the homeowner today. June 13th through the 15th, right, Gwen? Yeah.
Mark,
yeah.
You have like 14 minutes, okay?
I'm gonna end it here in a minute.
Oh, you're fine. You have 14
okay,
minutes.
Okay.
You're good.
All right. June 13th to the 15th in Seneca, South Carolina. Is that right?
Yeah.
We're doing the I can never remember this. It's a paranormal market and everything, and the lady running it, Brandy, she got a hold of me. Want everybody to do ghost hunts that Saturday night and everything. And she put me in touch with this lady, but we're doing that. That's going to be great. What else we got coming up? We're going to be doing Waverly Hills. Then
Waverly.
Yeah. And that's probably where I'll have my phone with you guys on it, helping me walking through it. But, and then, July, what is the one? Oh, I got too many of them. Dang. In Ozark, Alabama, August 9th and 10th. Deep South Paracon.
Yeah.
We're gonna be
Deep South.
Yeah, Deep South Paracon. That one's gonna be really, really cool too. But we got a lot coming up. But
for sure.
we got the Chestnut House in Kentucky. We're going to be doing that too. An old creepy B&B building that we're going to be doing. But yeah, guys, I mean, it's just, I'm happy that we're doing what we're doing and everything, and getting everybody together with order and everything, and hopefully we can get some good people.
Yeah. Definitely. We're going to be extremely careful. That the way that we screen, the way that we look at. We're going to be extremely careful. And with our high council and stuff like that. It would be very difficult to be able to get onto our high council. And I mean, like ordination has to be. There has to be. A unique place. You have to mold and fit yourself in perfectly for it to even get close to that position. What up?
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, and I like I said, I think it's going to work out, great and everything, and hopefully, we can get. Yeah, you definitely don't want. And you can tell that's just like, Shane, with your interviews, when you do home investigations with people are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs or whatever, and you don't want to see. I've only had that happen. Chestnut House, that's what I just said. We're going there in May. I don't know, sometime this year. I don't know. I got too many going on. But yeah, we got a lot coming up, and I look forward to working with you guys even more. I really appreciate the help and everything, because like I said, I know about this much about, the night. Well, after reading those books, I'll probably know a lot more. But I got a lot of books that I'm going to be reading that I got, and I'm only halfway through 362 pages of that. The demonology book. I'm like, oh my God, is there really that many? I just barely got through the A's, and starting the B's and everything. But like I said, it's Rosemary. What's her name? Rosemary Ellen. What's the name of the book? I'm sorry, guys.
Why'd you have to say that? Because I just had her name in my mouth and now I can't.
All right, give me a no.
Oh my gosh.
Rosemary. Okay, here it is. Here it is. I got it. It is okay. The Encyclopedia of Demons and Demonology. Rosemary Ellen Guiley. I think that's how you say her last name. It's 321 pages, and I thought the A's would never end. I didn't realize there were that many demons. But like I said, the cool thing about this book is it goes into detail. The Amityville Horror has almost 2 chapters on it, and I read stuff about it I didn't even know happened with the Amityville Horror. So she's got a one on angels. But guys, you gotta, it's called Encyclopedia. It's on Amazon, and it's really reasonably priced too. But if you want to know anything, but see, that's another interest too to me, to study this, to have the knowledge, and to have the knowledge what I'm gonna learn from you, Shane, and what I'm gonna learn from you, Zach, and everything, and the order and everything about Knights Templar and this and angels and all that. Then if you got all that knowledge, then you're over everybody else who's running around like a bunch of idiots, trying to scare one another, doing something stupid on YouTube or TikTok challenge for their paranormal thing. And like
we keep it humble, brother. We keep it humble.
Yeah. And like you said, Zach, it's going to cause problems. It's going to cause problems with people. Don't do it, please. If you're going to go out, go with a seasoned team, and study, Oh, I forgot too. Lee and Gwen and Matthew are also, you guys are going to be at the Paracon and at the market too. And Lee's going to be doing a class and everything. So I'm excited. There's a lot going on, guys. There is a lot.
And Martin just came and visited. And
yes, I
Sean
did.
And Bruce.
It was awesome. We had a good time.
By the way.
Yeah, I'm going to be working on, we went to a really cool cemetery and a real cool house. As a matter of fact, I'm going to start working on that video tomorrow, Gwen, and get that editing and everything and get that. But yeah, I loved it down South Carolina. It was awesome. I loved it down there. Except for the night we got there was pouring rain, but hey, I'm used to that being from Tennessee.
And sleeping. Somebody was trying to wake you up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were sleeping in the living room, and of course, Lee has all of her haunted dolls out there and everything. And no, that was the night before. And so, middle of the night, 3 a.m. in the bedroom, I hear bang, bang, bang. I'm like, who's knocking at the door? And these two are snoozing. I get up, no one at the door, and I go in to the bedroom, and the cabinet door is open again, but it sounded like someone was pounding on the wall right next to you. I'm like, you guys didn't hear that? Then I go back to sleep, and something grabs me 3 times, wraps around my legs and tries to throw me off the couch 3 times. So it's an interesting place, but I still have to go through all that. Is it haunted? Oh yeah, it's really haunted. But I've got Lee and her dolls and everything. I'm like, no, you go ahead and keep those creepy dolls. But anyways, guys, yeah. And Lee's like handling like it's no big deal. I'm like, no, I'll be filming from over here.
Well, yeah. I'm not doing that either. I don't mess with them things. I'll shoot them dolls with a slingshot.
Shane,
I took that thing out of that thing, and Mark goes, I took it out just like it's a little baby, didn't I?
No, and she tells Lee, oh, let me hold the baby. I'm like, y'all out your damn minds. It's like if
we're around them a lot.
Yeah,
we know.
If one jumps
not
out like
today, Satan, not today.
Yeah, not today, Satan. If one jumped out like Chucky, I'd be gone. A little dog turns its head and it goes, you want to be my friend? Nope, see you later. I'm in the car. No, I don't do that. But hey, but anyways, guys, yeah, check it out. Pastor Zach, thank you. Shane, thank you so much. It's been awesome.
You.
And we can talk more, but when we're done here, we'll talk
y'all
about
down and let Mark close out, but he'll be back with you in just a minute.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Y'all had a good conversation. I was listening. I was just letting y'all do your thing. So
it goes by quick. But yeah, guys, Saturday, May 3rd, Thomas House, Red Warning Springs, Tennessee. Go to Ghost of Tennessee. Tickets on sale, $10, 15 at the door. We got a great list. Shadows and Spirits, Paracon, And then we got the one in June and I can't even remember, August. But anyways, yeah, go to Ghost of
We'll be doing
Tennessee.
the advertising. Yeah, we're doing all
Yeah,
that.
it'll be there. But appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to y'all soon. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right.